kettle hums a morning melody. The coffee drips its slow dark poetry. A window bright with early garden green. The quietest morning you have ever seen. A porcelain cup and saucer on the tray. The radio hums a tune to start the day. The garden sparrows call from branch to branch, and jazz begins its soft, unhurried dance. Morning coffee jazz, warm and slow. Steam rising up from the cup below. The garden waits beyond the window pane, and all is well, and all is well again. The first light falls across the kitchen floor, a golden strip beneath the old back door. You wrap both hands around the warming cup and let the morning gently fill you up. The clarinet winds soft as morning steam. The piano walks as if inside a dream. This hour belongs to no one else but you. The coffee warm, the garden washed in dew. Morning coffee jazz, warm and slow. Steam rising up from the cup below. The garden waits beyond the window pane, and all is well, and all is well again. The cup runs dry, the morning opens wide. The jazz plays on with something warm inside. You rise and face the day without a rush. The morning coffee left its golden hush. A square of morning light above the sink, the garden green beyond the window's brink. The ivy clings to stone beside the glass, and morning clouds like quiet music pass. A cup of tea grows cool beside the tap. The old cat finds its favorite window gap. The apple tree holds still in morning air, and jazz slips in from somewhere soft and rare. The kitchen window frames the morning scene, a world of dew and gold and tender green. The piano hums along the windowsill, and time grows soft and wonderfully still. The dishes wait in patient morning rows. The jazz comes on wherever morning goes. You pause beside the window, cup in hand, and find that you already understand. The trumpet speaks of gardens barely waking. The bass walks slow through silences worth taking. A kitchen window holds so much, it seems. A whole world framed in its small square of dreams. The kitchen window frames a morning scene, a world of dew and gold and tender green. The piano hums along the windowsill, and time grows soft and wonderfully still. The morning deepens, light grows bright and long. The kitchen window holds the whole day's song. You wash the cup and let the music play. The window holds the garden through the day. A corner table by the morning pane, a pot of tea, a book, a small refrain. The cushioned bench beneath the window seat, and jazz to make the breakfast hour complete. The toast goes cold while morning light unfolds. The marmalade jar tells its orange golds. A spoon stirs slow, a napkin softly spread, and music drifts like butter over bread. Quiet breakfast nook, warm and small, a corner made for morning, that is all. The jazz plays low, the light comes in just right. A nook of calm between the dark and bright. The pepper grinder rests beside the salt. The morning in this corner finds no fault. A sparrow at the garden window taps, and breakfast time unfolds in gentle gaps. No headlines here, no hurry in this place, just morning in a small and cozy space. The upright bass holds down the gentle time, while a toast and jazz perform their morning rhyme. Quiet breakfast nook, warm and small, a corner made for morning, that is all. The jazz plays low, the light comes in just right. A nook of calm between the dark and bright. The breakfast ends, the cup is washed and dried. The nook sits quiet with the morning light inside, until tomorrow when we find our seat, and jazz and toast and morning come to meet. The garden fills with soft and early gold. The dew sits heavy on the marigold. A shaft of light cuts through the morning haze, and jazz begins its slow, unhurried phrase. The roses hold their dewdrops like small pearls. The morning light through every petal swirls. A cat moves slow across the garden stone, and no one needs to face this light alone. Garden light morning, clear and bright. The world is washed in amber morning light. The piano warms like sun on garden walls, and soft jazz drifts through dewy garden halls. The beams come low across the garden bed. They touch the lavender, the sage, the red. Geraniums that burn in morning glow, while jazz plays soft and mellow, soft and low. This light won't last, the morning knows it too. But for right now, it falls on me and you. The clarinet moves golden through the air, and morning light is scattered everywhere. Garden light morning, clear and bright. The world is washed in amber morning. colors like sun on garden walls, and soft jazz drifts through dewy garden halls. The light climbs high and loses its soft gold, but in that hour something was retold. The garden held the morning like a song, and garden light and jazz both carried on. No sign above the door, no menu board, just a kitchen counter, old and worn and scored. A percolator bubbling on the stove, and jazz records stacked inside the alcove. The best cafe in town has no address. It's in your kitchen wearing morning dress, a linen cloth, a vase of garden herbs, and music that the neighborhood disturbs. The Home Café opens every day, with no one else to hurry you away. The coffee here is made exactly right, and jazz comes free from morning into night. You are the barista, host and guest. You know exactly what you like the best. A double shot, a little foam milk top, and trumpet solos that refuse to stop. No strangers here, no noise, no cue to join, just you and morning and a silver coin dropped in the old tin radio nearby, as jazz floats up like steam into the sky. The Home Café opens every day, with no one else to hurry you away. The coffee here is made exactly right, and jazz comes free from morning into night. The edge of night turns slowly amber rose. The garden holds its breath before it glows. The robin is the first to greet the sun, and jazz begins before the day's begun. The sunrise climbs the old brick garden wall. It warms the moss, the fern, a trellis hall. A beam of gold across the flagstone path, like music walking softly in its aftermath. Sunrise over the garden, soft and slow. A world reborn in amber, rose and gold. The piano rises with the morning light, and jazz turns every garden wrong to right. The dew begins to lift as warmth arrives. The garden hums with its returning lives. The bees stir early in the lavender, while sunrise plays the softest overture. There is no grander concert than this dawn, no stage as wide as garden, hedge and lawn. The sun conducts the birds, the mist, the dew, and morning jazz plays softly through and through. Sunrise over the garden, soft and slow. A world reborn in amber, rose and gold. The piano rises with the morning light, and jazz turns every garden wrong to right. The sunrise fades to ordinary day, but in that gold the garden had its say, and jazz remembered every note of dawn, long after morning mist and dew were gone. The morning paper lands upon the mat. You pour your coffee, find your favorite hat. The armchair waits beside the garden door, and jazz plays soft on the old radio floor. You fold the pages to the crossword square. The headlines fade, there's only music there. drink still fresh, the coffee getting warm, and morning jazz performs its quiet storm. Morning paper jazz, page by page, a quiet ritual on a gentle stage. The trumpet turns the headlines into gold, and morning paper jazz is never old. The garden section shows the season's best. You fold it down and leave the world to rest. The jazz moves on from page to page with you, until the paper's read and morning's through. No urgency in this old armchair here, just rustling paper jazz and morning clear. The clarinet makes sense of every word, and in the music all is gently heard. Morning paper jazz, page by page, a quiet ritual on a gentle stage. The trumpet turns the headlines into gold, and morning paper jazz is never old. You set the paper down, the coffee drained, the morning red, the jazz notes still remain. The armchair holds the shape of morning still, and paper jazz replays beyond the sill. The breakfast table set with care and love, a checked cloth, a jam jar from above, the butter soft, the honey in its jar, and morning jazz drifts in from not so far. A bowl of fruit, a rack of cooling toast, the breakfast table holds what matters most. 2 cups, 2 plates, the morning all laid out, and jazz explains what mornings are about. The breakfast table, simple and so right, a little world between the dark and light. The piano hums where marmalade is spread, and morning jazz goes beautifully with bread. The morning light falls warm across the cloth. A butter knife, a spoon, a scone, a broth. The garden through the open window sings, and breakfast jazz completes these morning things. No need for grand or complicated days. The breakfast table has its quiet ways. The upright bass walks slow beside the toast, and mornings at the table matter most. The breakfast table, simple and so right. A little world between the dark and light. The piano hums where marmalade is spread, and morning jazz goes beautifully with bread. The breakfast done, the table cleared away, but something stays to warm the coming day. The jazz note held above the empty chair, and breakfast table memories in the air. The garden disappears in morning gray. The mist has taken all the shapes away. A softness settles over hedge and gate, and jazz drifts in through the mist, soft and late. The roses ghost through veils of silver white, the bird song muffled in the misty light. A thrush calls out from somewhere in the gray, and piano notes go searching for the day. Soft morning mist, quiet and still. The garden lost behind the silver veil. The jazz plays low and tender in the haze, and mist and music fill these morning days. You stand beside the open kitchen door and breathe the cool that misty mornings pour. The world reduced to shapes of green and gray, and jazz the only color of the day. stay, the sun will burn it clear. But for this hour, the garden disappears. The clarinet drifts pale as morning air, and something soft and misty lingers there. Soft morning mist, quiet and still. The garden lost behind a silver veil. The jazz plays low and tender in the haze, and mist and music fill these morning days. The mist begins to lift as hours pass. The roses reappear behind the glass, but morning mist and jazz have left their trace, a softness resting still on every face. The old tin kettle on the morning stove begins its slow ascent through steam above. A whistle builds as water reaches heat, and morning jazz arrives right on the beat. You lift it off before the whistle blows. The steam curls up the way a trumpet goes. The garden kettle poured into the pot, and morning starts wherever tea is hot. The garden kettle, faithful every day, it hums its note before the jazz can play. A kitchen ritual, warm and old and true. The kettle boiled and morning started new. The mint from yesterday's picked garden bunch makes something green for breakfast, not for lunch. The kettle poured, the cup begins to steam, and garden kettle jazz joins morning's dream. Some mornings need no words at all to start, just kettle steam and jazz to warm the heart. The garden through the window wet with dew, and one hot cup of something good and true. The garden kettle, faithful every day, it hums its note before the jazz can play. A kitchen ritual, warm and old and and true. The kettle boiled and morning started new. The kettle rests, its work for now complete. The cup is poured, the morning ritual neat, and jazz plays on while steam fades in the air. The garden kettle always will be there. The garden wakes before the household stirs. The first bird notes like small unhurried words. A snail moves slow across the morning stone, and dawn belongs to the garden alone. The flowers open one by careful one. The foxglove tips its bell to catch the sun. The spider's web holds beads of morning dew, and waking garden jazz begins its cue. Waking garden jazz, slow and new. The world returning green and gold and blue. The piano wakes like blossoms opening wide, and morning fills the whole waking garden inside. The bees arrive before the clock strikes 8. They know the lavender will never wait. The jazz hums low beneath the waking song of everything the garden held so long. To watch a garden wake is worth the early hour. The light changing, the dew, the opening flower. The trumpet calls like robin on the gate, and waking garden jazz is never late. Waking garden jazz, slow and new. The world returning green and gold and blue. The piano wakes like blossoms opening wide, and morning fills the whole waking garden inside. The garden fully woken greets the day. The jazz plays on and slowly fades away. But in that waking hour the world was right. The garden jazz between the dark and light. curtain lifts in morning air. A billow soft as anything found there. The breeze moves through the open garden door, and jazz plays low across the stone-flagged floor. The curtain filters morning into white, a soft diffusion of the garden light. Behind its folds the roses blur and sway, and linen jazz begins its gentle day. The linen curtain dances in the breeze, a slow and weightless morning, if you please. The trumpet breathes as soft as morning air, and something lovely floats everywhere. You push the curtain back to see the green, the freshest garden morning ever seen. The linen falls again across your hand, and music plays for all you understand. A curtain is a small thing, linen thin, but what it holds, the morning light within. The clarinet hums soft as cloth on stone, and linen mornings feel like coming home. The linen curtain dances in the breeze, a slow and weightless morning, if you please. The trumpet breeze as soft as morning air, and something lovely floats everywhere. The morning deepens, curtain hangs back still. The breeze has gone beyond the garden sill, but linen white, remembered morning air, and jazz once moved like curtains light and rare. No alarm today, no reason yet to rise. The Sunday morning soft behind closed eyes. The garden waits in no particular hurry, and Sunday breakfast comes without the worry. You find the eggs and find the good bread too, The coffee grinds while morning light breaks through. No schedule pin beside the kitchen door. Just Sunday breakfast jazz and nothing more. Lazy Sunday breakfast, slow and sweet, the best kind of unhurried morning treat. The piano rolls like butter on warm toast, and Sunday morning jazz we love the most. Stack in lazy golden towers. The syrup drips through softly passing hours. A Sunday paper open half unread, and jazz plays on from kitchen into bed. This is the morning all the weeks are for, the one that asks of you nothing more than sitting still while coffee fills the air. And Sunday breakfast, jazz beyond compare. Lazy Sunday breakfast, slow and sweet, the best kind of unhurried morning treat. The piano rolls like butter on warm toast, and Sunday morning jazz we love the most. The Sunday slowly opens into noon. The breakfast jazz still humming its soft tune, and all the lazy sweetness of this day begins with breakfast jazz that will not fade away. A sparrow lands upon the garden fence and fills the morning air with small pretense of opera, of jazz, of something bright. A tiny voice to welcome morning light. The sparrow hops from post to garden bed, from lavender to rosemary and red. Geranium where breakfast crumbs were dropped, and morning jazz plays on and never stopped. Garden sparrow morning, clear and sweet, a small brown voice to make the morning complete. The piano echoes what the sparrow sings, and morning jazz finds joy in smallest things. Kitchen window glass, the sparrow quick as any jazz phrase passed. It dips its beak and flicks its tail and gone, but leaves behind its morning song to carry on. We think that jazz needs instruments and halls, but listen to the sparrow as it calls. The clarinet just learned from birds like these to carry morning notes upon the breeze. Garden sparrow morning, clear and sweet, a small brown voice to make the morning complete. The piano echoes what the sparrow sings, and morning jazz finds joy in smallest things. The sparrow's gone to someone else's yard, but morning jazz remembered every shard of bird song woven into what it plays. A garden sparrow memory that stays. Before the world has asked a thing of you, before the list, the call, the thing to do, there is this moment, cup in both your hands, the first cup of the morning understands. The steam rises soft in morning quiet air, the warmth spreads out from palm to everywhere. The garden still beyond the window glass, and first cup jazz lets every worry pass. The first cup of the morning just for you, before the day has asked you to push through. The piano holds this moment warm and still, and first cup jazz plays soft against your will. You take the first slow sip and close your eyes. The coffee opens something like sunrise. A warmth moves through you, gentle and complete, and morning jazz makes first cup ours sweet. There are two kinds of mornings in this world, the ones before the first cup is the hinge between dark and light. The first cup of the morning just for you, before the day has asked you to push through. The piano holds this moment warm and still, and first cup jazz plays soft against your will. The cup grows cool, the morning has begun, but that first sip beneath the rising sun was jazz and warmth and everything worthwhile. The first cup always makes the morning smile. The orange marmalade in its little jar catches the morning light from near and far. A bitter sweetness spread on morning toast, the kind of breakfast flavor we love most. The jar was made in autumn, bitter peel boiled down to something golden, warm and real. Now winter's gone and morning comes again, with marmalade and jazz as old as rain. Morning marmalade jazz, orange and bright, a bittersweet beginning to the light. The trumpet stings a little, sweet and sharp, like marmalade on toast with morning harp. You spread it thick upon the buttered slice, the bitterness that makes the morning nice. A sip of tea, the bitter and the sweet, and marmalade jazz makes the morning complete. What is jazz but bitter notes and sweet? A combination that we love to meet. The clarinet has something sharp to say, like orange peel that brightens up the day. Morning marmalade jazz, orange and bright, a bittersweet beginning to the light. The trumpet stings a little, sweet and sharp, like marmalade on toast with morning harp. The jar sits empty, morning nearly done, but marmalade jazz lingers in the sun, a bittersweet reminder of the day that started orange, warm and jazzed away. Before the house wakes up, you take your cup and find the garden bench to sit it up. The wooden slats are cool with morning dew, and dawn belongs entirely to you. The garden at this hour holds its breath between the night's last dream and morning's breath. A blackbird sings from somewhere in the yew, and bench at dawn jazz starts its soft debut. The garden bench at dawn, just you and sky, the world below the pale and waking high. The piano sits beside you and kind, and bench at dawn jazz clears a clouded mind. The cup grows warm between your palms again. The mist lifts slowly from the garden lane. A rosebud opens on the climbing red, and on bench jazz plays everything unsaid. This is the hour that asks for nothing back, no plan to follow and no beat to track. The bass walks slow like footsteps on the dew, and garden bench at dawn belongs to you. The garden bench at dawn, just you and sky, the world below the pale and waking high. The piano sits beside you, old and kind, and bench at dawn jazz clears a clouded mind. The household stirs, the dawn has given way. You rise and bring your cup into the day, but something from the bench at dawn remains. A quiet jazz that softly still sustains. The quiet morning hours between 6 and 9 belong to no one's schedule, only mine. The world has not yet needed anything, and morning jazz has room to breathe and sing. A book lies open, pages barely turn. The coffee cools beside the candle burned from last night's reading, soft and warm and low, and quiet morning hours barely go. Quiet morning hours, soft and few. The The piano stretches lazy, long and slow, and quiet morning jazz just lets you go. The garden light comes slowly through the glass. You watch it move and let the minutes pass. No urgency in this soft morning space, just jazz and light and time to find your place. We rush the morning when we should not rush. The quiet hours deserve this gentle hush. The upright bass just breathes, it does not run. And quiet morning hours are never done. Quiet morning hours, soft and few, the most precious hours of all that come to you. The piano stretches lazy, long and slow, and quiet morning jazz just lets you go. The quiet hours close as day begins. The world arrives with all its noise and dins, but morning held its quiet for a while, and jazz walked soft through every morning mile. The old brown radio sits beside the stove, its dial turned to something warm it wove. A morning signal crackling through the air, with jazz from somewhere, 1940 rare. The static hisses soft before the song. The trumpet breaks through clear and sure and strong. The old radio knows the morning well. It has 1,000 mornings left to tell. The old radio morning, warm and low, a crackle and a hum, and then the show. The jazz comes through the static like the sun, and old radio morning has begun. You lean a little closer, turn the knob. The signal finds the station clear and soft. A piano trio fills the kitchen air, and old radio jazz is always there. Before the streaming and the playlist stage, the radio was morning's only only stage, one station, one musician, one clear note. And mornings wore the music like a coat. The old radio morning, warm and low, a crackle and a hum, and then the show. The jazz comes through the static like the sun, and old radio morning has begun. The program ends, the dial goes quiet again, but old radio mornings always remain in static memory, in crackle and in gold. The old radio morning never grows old. You grind the beans the way you like them best. The morning is your own, forget the rest. A milk jug, old and dented on the shelf. You make the cafe morning for yourself. The foam is poured with patience, not with speed. The homemade cafe gives you what you need. A favorite cup, a favorite morning song, and homemade cafe jazz to hum along. Homemade cafe morning, yours alone. The best cafe is always found at home. The piano plays like cream swirled in a cup, and homemade cafe morning fills you up. The garden through the open window calls. The morning light slides soft along the walls. A vase of herbs, a plant, a worn cookbook, and homemade cafe morning just to look. No barista knows you quite this well. No coffee shop has got this morning spell. Just you and grinder, milk and morning jazz. The homemade cafe morning always has. Homemade cafe morning, yours alone. The best cafe is always found at home. The piano plays like cream swirled in a cup, and homemade cafe morning fills you up. The cup is drained, the morning stretches wide. The jazz still plays with warmth and gentle pride. You rinse the cup and set it on the rack, and oh, the homemade cafe calls you back. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm is done, before the world begins its daily run, you'll grind the beans and pour the milk, and know the homemade cafe morning steals the show.